Back in the early 2000s, there was a message board that Warren Ellis ran. It was called the Warren Ellis Forum, or the WEF for short. And there were a lot of people who would show up there every day and talk about comics and culture and just a ton of stuff. And one of the people that showed up all the time was a young man at the time named Matt Fraction. And Matt was funny and he was cool, on a board where everybody tried to be funny and very few people ever succeeded at being cool. And so he really stood out to me. He was one of the people that I loved when he commented. I wanted to see what he was saying and what he was thinking about. And it was pretty clear from their interaction that Warren Ellis really liked him too. And so over time, you began to see little signs that Fraction was going to be getting into comics, that he was going to be trying to write comics, and not just try. He did. I'm not exactly sure. I think Rex Mantooth was his first published work, and I have it somewhere back here on my shelves. But it was about a talking gorilla super spy, and it was put out by Robert Kirkman's uh, publishing company, Funkatron. It was with artist Andy Kuhn, I think, and it was really funny. It was meant to be funny, and it succeeded at a time when a lot of comics trying to be funny weren't funny. And from there, he did Last of the Independents, which was kind of like a ode to Saturday dad movies, action movies with some grizzled old guy who robs a bank or flies a plane, or does what dad heroes do. And then Five Fist of Science, which was told of the early kind of technological race between Edison and Tesla. And so he did really interesting stuff. And the book he went on to do X-Men and Thor and all the Marvel stuff. Did a Jimmy Olsen series for DC. That's the only DC work that I'm remembering off the top of my head. But I love that when he had a chance to do DC work, he did Jimmy Olsen. But the book he's probably most popular for, it seems like, is Sex Criminals. And he did that with Chip Zdarsky. And it's a book where this couple finds out that when they have orgasms, time stops, like it literally stops. And so they use that skill to start robbing banks. And so people loved that. It was bawdy and funny and kind of hip, and it was really popular. But my favorite Matt Fraction book was Casanova. So it was a spy story where a spy kind of gets lost in the multiverse. Before Marvel and the MCU ever thought about doing movies about the multiverse, like, it was a thing that people used in stories sometimes, like as far back as early old Flash stories. But in this, Casanova Quinn, who is the super spy, and he's kind of looks like Mick Jagger, and he acts like 007, except younger and cooler. He kind of starts trying to piss off his dad, who's like Nick Fury, who's like basically the head of this big government organization. He starts trying to piss him off, and in the result, as a result of that, gets lost in the multiverse and encounters versions of him and his sister and this bad guy named Newman Zeno, who he fights with, but he's also kind of in love with. It's really complex. There were supposed to be 7 volumes. So far, there have been 4 volumes. But my favorite by far is Volume 1. It's just a bunch of standalone Casanova Quinn spy stories, and I love it. I love it so much that I bought the original issues, the individual issues. Then I bought the trade paperback. I bought the hardcover, and then I bought the deluxe hardcover. And so this is the only series that I have in that kind of in that many formats, because I love it so much. And so if the idea of a slightly polyamorous, polysexual super spy who gets lost in the multiverse multiverse sounds intriguing to you, then I recommend you check it out. It owes a lot to the old James Bond movies and to Michael Moorcock and that sort of thing. But it's a great book, and the later volumes are good, but they just don't hold the place in my heart that that first volume does. It was a masterpiece. It was. I remember I met Matt Fraction at a convention, and you're thinking like, what? I'm gonna have a few minutes. What do I say to this guy whose work I really like? And his book was the first volume. Casanova was coming out at the same time. Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's All Star Superman was coming out, and so I kind of said to him, I said, right now this is my golden age of comics because these two books are coming out at the same time. And I forget what he said in response to that. I think it's something complimentary to Morrison and Quitely, probably. But then he signed my volume of Casanova, and he wrote, "Patrick, someone saved my life tonight, Sugar Bear," Elton John lyric. So anyway, you can see his kind of humor. I don't know what word I was looking for. His humor. You can see his humor. But anyway, Casanova, one of my absolute favorite comics. If you haven't read it, I totally recommend it.